All right, YouTube, it's that time of year again. First off, if you can see here, I got my shop much cleaner. There's just a few things yet that I have to organize. I swept the floor tonight and it looks awesome in here. I'm going to build some more hooks to hang stuff along that wall, and just some general bench organization. Once I can hang stuff, we'll be a lot better off. But anywho, that's not what this video is about. This video is the first snowmobile video of the season, and I've got some repairs to make, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. So first off, I'll explain what the repair is. This shaft is the drive shaft for the track. The chain would come down and there's a sprocket on this end of it, and that's what would run the track. Now on mine, I was probably being a little hard on it last year, and I broke the end of this shaft off. I twisted it clean off. And so my buddy Bob Bruner with VintageSledParts.com, I believe. I'll have to double check the website, but I'm pretty sure that's what his website is. I'll put a link in the description. But he's been great for parts. He's up here in Minnesota, up in north central Minnesota, and he does a great job with these old Skidoo parts. So if you're looking for anything, go ahead and give him a ring. But anyways, he hooked me up with this new one, or this used one, I should say. And so right now I'm in the process of taking the old one out. We'll have to take the drive sprockets off of this one because I've got new ones on my sled, and put the new seals back on and everything. My bearings and all that'll still be good because it wasn't that long ago that I did that. Which brings me to my next point. I had this apart about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago now, and I put the new drive wheels on there and new bearings and new seals, and I basically had everything that I'm doing right now torn apart, and now I got to redo it because I broke that shaft. So I don't really remember exactly how it came apart, so I'm going to be learning again, and you guys will be learning right along with me. But some things that I did remember was this piece right here goes on the side of the chain case and then down to the floor plate. That has to come off, and then there's a similar piece that goes on the bottom. That also has to come off. Now, my step is going to be a little bit different here because my shaft is broken, and so it'll be easier to take apart at this point. There's nothing holding that shaft in the sprocket on this model. When I was talking to my parts guy, he said that some of them have a cotter pin in them that hold it together. This one does not. And so this chain case, once it's unhooked from the side, the belt is off and the support bar here is unhooked at the bottom. And I'll try and keep the light in a good spot so you guys can see here, but that's one thing I need to do in this shop yet is get better lighting. But anyways, so now the whole clutch assembly here and on down is free. I should probably take this cable off, but really for what I'm doing I may not need to. And actually that'll all have to come apart anyways because that gear has to slide out this top hole, so I will have to take the clutch out, which isn't a big deal. I've done it before. I just have to remember how it's done. But I can do that once the assembly has been removed from the sled. And so what we'll do is we'll pry that off, and then that'll give us access to the chain case side of things. Then on the other side of the sled, there is a bearing cup plate right there, and that's where the bearing on the other side rides, and that'll have to come off. The track tension will have to be taken off. The tensioners in the back, and I don't remember, I think I had to drop the back row of bogey wheels when I did it the first time. And unfortunately I do have to go that far with it, so we're going to get started here, and hopefully I can keep you guys updated along the way, and we can all learn something. Alright guys, that came off extremely easy. I just got my little Wonder Bar in behind it and gave it a little bit of a pry, and it came right off. That's also how this goes back on, but normally it's not that easy because it's rusted on there or whatever. It's been a long time since you had it off, but it does just slide off of that shaft like that. Putting it back together is a little bit more difficult because you got to get that lower sprocket in the right spot to slide onto the shaft, but it's doable. I mean, they put it together, so it's got to be doable. But anyways, one thing to note is there's a divot down here in the metal, and it has to be the right shape for that to come out far enough when the shaft is in one piece. If you can see the hole there in mine, I must have hit a rock or something and it actually punched that up. And so I had to hammer that down before I could take this off. But there you can see where the shaft is broken off. And that may be difficult to get that bearing off of there, we'll see. But if nothing else, I'll push the bearing further onto the shaft and then cut it clean and then press it off. I'll probably have to take it into work or take it over to the father-in-law's shop and use a press somewhere to do the job right. But we'll see where we get. Now, there's two possible paths I can take from here. I can either flip the sled over and start undoing the track assembly, or I can start taking apart this upper assembly and getting the old gear out. And I'm guessing that that piece of shaft will have to be knocked out of the sprocket. Because it's 9 o'clock on a Friday night and I have to work in the morning, I think I'm going to leave the track part of it for another time, and I'm going to tackle the chain case part of it because I can get that up on the bench and work on it at shoulder height or whatever, and it's more comfortable, and that just seems like a lot of work right now, so I think I'm going to leave that for another day. But anyways, that's what I'm going to do next. I've got to unhook the brake. If you want to call it a brake, I've never thought of that as being much of a brake, and I know my pad is old and cruddy, but I don't know, even if it's good, it probably isn't going to stop you worth a darn, so I never put a new one on. But anywho, we'll get that cable undone and get her up on the bench and start working on that. Now would be a good time to rebuild the secondary clutch too, if that's something that you were thinking about. I should probably do mine because this seems pretty weak, but I'm trying to keep this in budget as well because I've got some other projects that I want to get done this winter, and I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on this one and then not have any left for the other projects. So we're going to leave the secondary clutch alone for now. This thing moves and drives, and it's fun to putter around on the way it is. So someday if I want it to move a little bit better and whatnot, then we'll look into the secondary. But for now, I think I'm just going to let it go. So the first step I'm going to have to do here is knock this cotter pin out, take that castle nut off, and then this small sprocket should slip off of the gear there. And then if I remember right, the only other thing that I have to do is take this bolt out right here and take this bolt out, and just that assembly will slide out of there. Hopefully it comes easy like that, and then this part of it will be done. And then we'll just have to get that shaft out of there, which that doesn't look like it's going to be too big of a deal either because part of it already fell out. That's what this is right here. You can see how bad it twisted there, and so that shouldn't be too bad, and we should be able to get that done tonight pretty easy. There's one thing I've learned from working as a mechanic. It's that indexing thing is very important, and so what that means is you're taking things apart, you want to keep track of where they are and get them put back in the same spot. So this would be a good place to index it. I'm not 100% sure what this slot is for, but it has something to do with adjusting the secondary clutch. And I want to leave it the way it was because I know it works that way. And so I'm not going to worry about it because you can see the rust and shiny spots here where the washer was. But if you were going to rebuild this or paint it or anything like that, and you weren't going to be able to see those marks, this would be a good point to take a chisel or even a stamp set. A lot of mechanics have like letter stamp sets, and just make a stamp or a chisel mark or something here so that you know that this is where this goes when you're putting it back together. Our sprocket came off nice and easy on the end here. Castle nut came off nice and easy. None of this stuff is surprising me because I've had it all apart before, so it should be fairly easy. So we're going to go ahead and knock the secondary clutch off of here quick, and then this part of the process will be done. Alright, so this came apart a little different than I expected it to, which is fine, but the shaft actually slid out of there. Now, what I did was I just hit it with my rubber mallet here, and then as it got to the point where I could no longer hit it with my mallet, I took a punch, and there is a hole in the center of this shaft, and I just put my punch right in that divot, and I hit it on that. This has a sealed bearing on this side. There's a seal here, and then it's just like a regular old sealed bearing, and it's got a tapered roller bearing on the inside. I'm just losing it tonight. It's got a tapered roller bearing here on the inside, so before you put this back together, it's important to make sure that you got that all cleaned out and greased up good, and you don't want to put that back together dirty at all. So now that all of that is out of the way, I can get my darn light to cooperate here, we should be able to just grab the chain here. And here comes our sprocket. Now I may have to do this a little differently, I don't remember. I may have to pull the sprocket out first and then go after the chain. But there you can see our busted off shaft, and it did look like it was pretty rusty on the inside, but I would have made that a little thicker if I was the engineer on this, but that's just the way it is. And that has to be hollow because that allows oil from the chain case to get through to oil the bearing on the other side of the shaft. And so it's designed the way it is for a reason. Unfortunately, it's just kind of a weak point. But these sleds also aren't made for jumping drifts and stuff like that, so it's not like it needs to be super strong. So this is probably where I'll end the video for tonight. There's really not anything else for you guys to see. I don't think I'm going to start on the rest of it yet tonight. But look forward to the second part of this video coming up hopefully fairly soon. And thanks for watching. Please leave a like, share, subscribe, and check back for more.